I am such an idiot. Who even needs $100 shampoo? I'm so dumb. It will never be enough. Why would I want to work more? That it was not about the dollar amount. Hello and welcome. Today's video is a story time of a sudden realization of what lifestyle inflation had done to my life, what I did to defeat it, and also how I made a 180 change. It may be difficult to pinpoint where exactly lifestyle inflation begins, but for many, I think it happens right after college, once a person accepts a job and they start making real adult money. And it might not even be large quantities of money, but after you've been struggling as a broke college student, even breadcrumbs will appear as a full course meal. Lifestyle inflation, also sometimes referred as lifestyle creep, happens when your spending increases as you start making more money. And while it happens to many people and it also became such a normalized part of our society, it is a dangerous tide and can have destructive consequences if not caught on time. Because it really does creep up on you and you do not notice it at all until it might be too late or until a wake-up call is served. I think I remember exactly how lifestyle inflation started for me. Right after college, I accepted a job, and that same day my husband and I were at the grocery store. Well, I wanted to buy some olive oil, and I was basically debating between two options, the cheaper and the more expensive one. My husband suggested that I go with the more expensive one because I just got a new job, so it's a great way to celebrate. And I did get the more expensive one, even though I have not worked a single hour at that job yet. Now, my husband's very encouraging and supportive, and obviously buying just one bottle of olive oil did not set us back for generations to come. But that single action set something off that will become important later in the story. Because once you start buying nicer things for yourself, it really gets into your head. And you want to upgrade every category and everything you own, and also buy a lot of things you've never owned before. From the pen you write with that can be a nicer one, to the watch you wear on your wrist, to the clothes you have, kitchen utensils you use, car you drive, the location where you live at. There is no limit to how much you can spend and keep upgrading your lifestyle. And companies are tirelessly working on their marketing campaigns to sell you that elevated lifestyle. However, there is a limit to your monthly income working a regular job. And even though you might think, oh, I deserve this elevated lifestyle, I'm finally making money now, but you're still in the same place financially, just with more fancy stuff. And you're more likely living in the now and not so much where should I be financially 3, 5, 10 years from now. The biggest jump of my lifestyle inflation happened in 2021 when I was very busy selling real estate. The business was booming. I just bought myself a nice car that I needed for work, and it was my first car ever essentially. And everything was just going up and up and up and up from there. And even though I still tried to live a somewhat minimal lifestyle and I bought a few things here and there, they were really nice and really expensive things that I bought. And at my lowest, especially when I was really stressed, I would resort to actually shopping. Going to the store for me, as it is for many, was just a coping mechanism with stress because at the time I did not work on developing better coping habits. One thing remained unclear, however. My husband's laundromat business was doing very well, and my real estate career was taking off. We were doing better than ever, but we just could not get ahead at all. And things were not coming together and clicking for a while. And I kept telling myself, well, I just need to sell a few more houses and then I'm gonna have all the money for all the ones. And there is truly always the next thing to chase, the next milestone to strive for. If you start making $50,000 a year, then you want to make 100. Once you start making 100, you want to make $250,000. Once you get there, you look at people who are making $1 million. You start telling yourself, well, if only I was making just as much money as these people were, then all my money problems will be solved. And the reality is, the more money you keep making, if you keep disproportionately increasing your spending, it will never be enough. And that realization hit me hard. And I just thought, I am such an idiot. I'm so dumb. I cannot believe how stupid I am. I bamboozled myself into a lifestyle that is not sustainable, and I will always have to work to support it. The next few weeks were spent having a minor mentee be and just basically untangling how we got there. I knew that there used to be moments in time back in the day when I was just so much happier and so much more content even when I had nothing, then why does it feel now that it's never going to be enough? And this is exactly why this is a dangerous path. It's refreshing to see that in 2025, there's so much more transparency around money, and even celebrities and singers, they come out and basically say when you see someone on the red carpet, they probably get sponsored by a brand, but they're really a broke, struggling artist struggling to pay their rent. Now, an important point to make is that celebrity broke and real, regular person broke are two completely different worlds that will never collide. Also, a lot of the times when you Google someone's net worth, that number could be just so incredibly off. And I guess a lot of people don't even realize that a net worth is your assets minus your liabilities, and not the actual amount of cash literally sitting in somebody's bank account. Well, here's another story that served as basically my final puzzle piece when it finally clicked all together for me. One time I was sitting at a cafe at downtown Summerlin on a weekday. I was waiting for my girlfriend to arrive. She was looking for a parking spot to join me for lunch, and I just slightly overheard a conversation happening between these two men. They were pretty young, probably in their mid-40s, and one of them was complaining to the other about how living in California, he basically makes $500,000 a year, but he has to pay half of that, if not more, in taxes, which basically left him struggling paycheck to paycheck. And then another one responded and said, well, basically, since we moved from California to Nevada, there's no state income tax, so we definitely put a lot more money in our pockets here. But then he complained back and talked about how his wife spends all of their money on non-discretionary purchases. His friend was like, what purchases? And then he went on to name a few, and he said that his wife just hired a custom closet company to convert one of their bedrooms into a custom closet just because she doesn't have enough space, and that she's spending way too much money on specialty food and special grooming for their mini golden doodles. Now, obviously, no shade and no judgment at all to how people spend their money. And at that point, my girlfriend had arrived and we were basically starting to have lunch, so I couldn't hear much more of their conversation. But I overheard just enough that made me realize that these two men make so much money. And yet, they're completely stressed out, basically day drinking on a random Wednesday. And generally speaking, you don't really go from making $8 an hour to a $200,000 a year salary. It is a gradual process, and that's what makes it so hard to not increase that spending as you improve yourself over the years, as you climb the corporate ladder, and as you start making more money year over year. If you want to have more money in your pockets, regardless of how much you make, you really need to live below your means. And a lot of the times people consider this as another extreme, like there's either the broke college student lifestyle or this lavish lifestyle, and there's absolutely nothing in between. But there is a lot of gray area in between, such as you don't have to be so extreme that you neglect your health or you spend all of your money to the point where all of your credit cards are maxed out. You just need to spend a bit less than you make so that there's money left when things do go wrong. And they will. Honestly, I always tell my friends that once your life finally starts getting better and good on track, car problems are probably coming next. And it took me way too long to realize that it was not about the dollar amount made. It was about how you manage what you have. When Bloomberg dropped this article back in 2020 about how 1/3 of Americans making $250,000 are struggling or living paycheck to paycheck, it caused quite a stir, mostly because most Americans really are making between, $50,000 and $65,000 if we're talking about the majority here. So don't be telling the majority of people that you're struggling so hard on that type of salary, because it's definitely excessive spending. Because if you're renting an apartment for $10,000 a month, and then there's just not much money left after you furnish it and just buy everything that you think you deserve, this is a very much a first world problem issue. And the thing is, if someone else were to tell you that you do have a spending problem or that you're wasting too much on unnecessary things, you'd probably get really defensive and accuse that person of not minding their own business. You see, you really and truly have to come to this realization yourself. Through observation, self-awareness, reason, and just the ability to see things for what they really are, which is something that not a lot of people do or practice or even strive to develop. Because if every person who's making decent money but struggling looked at their spending and truly analyzed every purchase without being defensive, without justifying these purchases, they would be able to see how they got there and what they need to do in order to scale back and untangle this huge dilemma of why am I making so much money and this is just never enough? Yeah, so remember that expensive olive oil that I purchased? Well, I did start buying nicer things, nicer everyday things as well over time. It didn't happen all in one shopping trip, but it was definitely a journey over the years. So I looked at everything I was spending and then I saw $100 shampoo. I mean, who even needs $100 shampoo? Let's be for real. I was also going to a lot of nice lunches with my friends and colleagues throughout the week, justifying it as necessary spending. And a lot of expenses were also used as a coping mechanism with work and just life in general, which as a result fueled the need to work even more. Do you see how this is a closed circle and it doesn't make any sense after all? The thumbnail of this video is a picture of me from a few years back, probably when I was at the height of my real estate career. It was a broker's open for this $25 million property built by Blue Heron, absolutely stunning masterpiece of modern contemporary living, built on a cliff with clear, unobstructed view of the Las Vegas Strip. The setup from the get-go was incredible. It is a double-gated community, and for all the arriving guests there was valet service, a few Rolls-Royce models parked in the driveway, live music, and exquisite food catering. And this was quite the night for many real estate professionals because every broker wants to sell the properties of this caliber. And at that moment, I did truly feel happy and fulfilled, just going up and up and up, building everything brick by brick. So I can't say that making money and spending money was just all miserable work, but I think it's something that many people experience and can relate to at least at some point of their life. Everything was really going great until I also realized that in order to continue building a business, and in order to get to a certain level of selling homes, I need to invest so much money back into it. Marketing, office, publications, photo and video production, mailers. So basically, $1 million listing doesn't just easily fall on one's lap. It's a result of relentless work and investment over the years. A mindset mistake that a lot of people make, however, is thinking, just because I make so much money now, I will be making just as much, if not more, in the coming months or the next year. But if the economy is booming and everything's going so great, it doesn't usually cross people's minds that layoffs can happen, pay cuts can happen, any kind of unprecedented events or injuries. I kind of hate the word unprecedented since 2020, so I apologize for using it. It's so easy to just get caught up and start shopping mindlessly, completely foregoing and forgetting about the budgets. And it's also pretty hard to reverse it, but not impossible though. So here's a few things I did in order to kind of scale back that lifestyle inflation. First, it's coming to terms and realizing that it's going to be an endless cycle unless something changes. Second is having an unbiased look on money coming in and out. And sometimes what helps is looking at your own bank statements as if they're somebody else's, because sometimes for people it's easier to judge others for their spending. Third is an obvious one. It's setting budgets and financial goals and also defining what percentages you can spend. If you make X amount of money, then you can calculate the percentage of what could be going on different categories. What especially helps visualizing that is putting all of the categories in Excel spreadsheet and creating a pie chart. The next one is setting a huge why as to all of these changes even need to be made. It might be hard to start downgrading a lifestyle without a valid reason, just because. And a lot of people might find a lot of resistance within themselves. Well, I just don't want to do it. Yes, I'm struggling, but I would rather keep my lifestyle and just keep working more or keep working harder. But this video is kind of more so for people who want to walk the other direction. And also, it doesn't have to be that dramatic of a change. You don't have to go from buying $100 shampoo to buying $1 shampoo. There's also a lot of options in between. The next tip would be you need to artificially decrease the amount of money being brought in. For example, after a paycheck hits, a good portion of it can be sent into savings, an untouchable saving fund, and a reasonable amount can be left to buy other things for the month. And the last tip, which is the most important one, stick with it. Find and identify the triggers that cause to spend and create better coping mechanisms. other than that Target trip that will supposedly heal you forever. Essentially, to summarize, lifestyle inflation happened to me as it does to many, and I came to a conclusion that this constant upkeep is not a way to lasting joy and happiness. It's about asking the real questions. Why would I want to work more? Why would I spend years chasing things that really have no real value? I am already enough, and you are already enough, and we have enough. This is the whole purpose why I created this channel. And I don't think I'll really get tired of talking about it. Now, it must have been that my frontal lobe finally developed and or some traumatic events that happened to me, a combination of both probably though, that really opened my eyes and helped me look at everything completely differently. And how happy I am that this realization hit me when I was 28 and not much later in life, when a lot of the precious years would be wasted on honestly trying to chase things, make more money, and being in that closed loop often referred to as the rat race. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up. I honestly did not feel like recording today at all, but at the same time, I was like, you know what? I actually record these videos thinking about my subscribers and people who watch me, and this is a message that I definitely want to share with others instead of taking a nap. So thanks guys, and leave your thoughts in the comments below.